Hello, I am Dana, and I have a brain tumor. More specifically, I have a tumor in my pituitary gland. Sometimes it's called a brain tumor, sometimes not. It's basically right up there, right close to the brain, and it's bad enough to affect my life. It is benign. So far, the diagnosis is that it is a non-functioning macroadenoma. It is 23 millimeters, so it's on the bigger side, and it's more than enough to completely mess with my life. And so I am making this video, and I'll be continuing to make videos. I'm hoping for the energy to do so, but I want to share my experience as I go through it. I've seen some videos online um, that show the whole journey or talk about the whole journey of people after they've gotten the surgery done, and this is what happened to me back then. I am 2 years into this journey, but I've not yet had a surgery, so I really wanted to share and be able to look back on what I was thinking and what I was going through and how I felt at the time, starting from now and forward. So, as I mentioned, it's a 23 millimeter macroadenoma in my pituitary gland. I'm going to talk about a little bit more about my diagnosis, the symptoms leading up to the diagnosis. I'll also talk about, let's see, checking my notes. I'll also talk about symptoms that I have experienced since my diagnosis, so some additional symptoms or increased symptoms. And sort of my journey so far in terms of dealing with doctors and just the general medical profession, my hopes, and then what I expect for the rest of this journey. So, to let you know more about my diagnosis, there's the diagnosis from my endocrinologist, and then there's my self-diagnosis because there have been a couple of things, or a few now, major things um, that she didn't address, and so I am someone who must have an answer. When there's something happening in my life, I will Google and Google and Google until I get an answer. And I know what they say. Google is not a good thing for non-medical professionals to do, but I've been able to zero in on some things pretty well. So I'd say these fingers are Googleistas. I've been able to figure out a couple of things, and there are some things that are just so obvious that even if a medical professional is like, I don't know about that, you kind of, sometimes you kind of know. And I don't know about you, but I've quickly experienced that you really have to take your own your own health into your own hands. You can't just say, here's what's happening to me, doctor, please help. They're not always going to know everything. In general, and maybe not for your specific situation. This is my experience, and I know a lot of people have had this too. And well, you'll hear more about what I've been through when I get down to the part about my journey. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. So, as I said, I've got a non-functioning 23 millimeter macroadenoma in my pituitary gland, otherwise known as the intruder. In addition to that, I did have some purple stretch marks on my stomach at one point. So those, I believe, are because of Cushing's. And I believe I might also have hyperthyroidism. And I'll talk more about that soon, about why I think I have that. So we've got the official diagnosis from the endocrinologist, and then my self-diagnosis on a couple of things. And there could be more, but those would be the two big ones, and you'll find out why in a few moments. My journey started back in 2021, and I'm going to talk about the symptoms now leading up to my diagnosis. So first, I woke up one morning, about a month before my birthday. And so it felt like the most horrible early birthday present. That's the way I saw it for quite a while. Kind of still see it. And one of my breasts was a little lower than the other one. And if you haven't already guessed, we are going to get into a little bit of TMI. So you've been warned a little bit late. You're in it now, so you may as well keep watching. So one breast was a little bit lower than the other one, and I was immediately concerned. And then by the end of the day, I kind of thought, you know what, I'm getting older. Maybe this is what happens. And again, this is June 2021. I'm recording this in May 2023. Unfortunately, I was right to be concerned immediately because this continued to happen every single day for the last almost 2 years. After that first initial feeling of the breast falling, I could feel it. I could also visibly see that one was lower than the other. By the end of the day, the other one came down to meet it, and this would just keep happening every single day. I had breast pains, I had nipple discharge. Essentially, so now that it's been 2 years, I've seen where they have gone, where my chest has gone. So my chest has flattened, sort of come outwards a little bit, flattened downwards, and I'll talk more about that in a little while. And I believe this is related to a hormone imbalance. I had purple stretch marks on my stomach, so that's why I believe I have Cushing's. I should backtrack a little. I believe the breast pains and the general breast atrophy, which I consider to be rapid breast atrophy, something that in all of my many hours of searching online, so online doctors in 2 countries, no one's ever heard of this. No one's ever heard of something happening so rapidly, and because it's so unusual, well, we'll get into what happens with things that are very unusual when you bring those to the medical profession. In some cases, not all cases. So I call it rapid atrophy literally every day, and it's been really just I can say difficult, but it's beyond because your body is changing every day, and everything I saw online said go talk to a doctor if you have changes in your breasts. They were changing every day. So I went to the family doctor, I went to the OBGYN, I went to the endocrinologists and beyond, and no one knows anything about this. So anyways, I believe it's related to a hormone imbalance, and I believe that's why I added hyperthyroidism to my list, because I think that breast atrophy might kind of be related to that. And all of this is because of the tumor, pituitary tumors, or can cause hormone imbalance, and that could lead to hyperthyroidism. It's all interconnected, I believe. I mentioned the purple stretch marks, Cushing's. In addition to that, many other symptoms. Let's go through the list, shall we? Mild to severe depression, depending on the day, depending on, just what my hormones were up to. Brain fog, crazy brain fog, not able to process things, not able to just live easily. I guess things that might be easy to process mentally, or easy to, I think, do in some cases, were and sometimes continue to be hard for me. And my brain fog, I think when I was younger, was really bad, maybe a decade ago, and maybe even up to a few years ago, really bad. And I think it's better now, but it's still there. I'm still a little foggy, and it's really impacted every area of my life. And then moderate to severe memory issues. In addition to all of that, my periods, again, TMI, you've been warned, reduced to about 3 to 4 per year. and they'd be extremely heavy for most of the time, and they would last. They started to get longer and longer, and they ended up towards the end before I started taking cabergoline, which I started July 2022. They would last about a month. Decreased libido, fatigue, joint pain, dry skin, low blood pressure. Had that for years, didn't know why I had it, just knew it was there, and never investigated, unfortunately. And I'm not sure that having low blood pressure would have led to the MRI I needed to find the brain tumor anyways. And then here are a few things that I'm not sure are from the tumor or if they're just from me. The last 2 years, I have not been sleeping well. I have put on a lot of weight, which is on this list, the not sure list. So I don't know, maybe. So on the not sure list, we have vision problems. My vision has gotten a little bit worse. It could be because I'm on my computer a lot. It could be because I haven't slept a lot in the last 2 years. The tumor is also possibly the reason for the eczema I've been experiencing. For years, I had a little bit of eczema behind one ear, and then I think back in 2021, 2021 or what was that? Oh yes, 2021. Oh, mixing up my years. I got basically Thanos' hand on this hand. If you've seen that, straight up Thanos on this hand. It was really, really bad on my hand, also a little bit on the other hand. And poor circulation in my legs, swelling in my lower legs and in my feet. Sort of off and on. Thankfully now it's not swollen, but I think the circulation's still poor. And water retention and weight gain. I've probably helped that a lot, thanks to being depressed and feeding my worries with food. But weight kind of piles on really quickly on me, and the tumors like this have been known to do that. So it's possible that the tumor has been a factor as well. And then also fibroids. The tumor, because of the issue with hormones, they can affect your sex hormones. And I haven't done a lot of research, but I believe I came across something that said that it could change things and cause fibroids. And now let's talk about additional symptoms since my diagnosis. Everything I mentioned up until this point, plus more actually, are things that were true before my diagnosis. And then here are a few more things. Since my diagnosis, the situation with my breasts has gotten even worse since I started on cabergoline, since I got the first MRI, since I found out I had a tumor. Not only are my breasts continuing to flatten, so the atrophy is continuing, but I guess as part of the atrophy, also my actual nipples have flattened, and they've quickly lost sensation. I noticed the loss of sensation I think it was maybe November of 2022, and now a few months later it's almost completely gone in both nipples. And let me see. Oh, and I also had to go to the hospital last July 2022, due to hydrosalpinx on the right side. And I haven't looked that up recently. I believe it's like a closure or a blockage in your fallopian tube. So I have that on one side. And then also starting mid to late last year, I think, I was getting hot flashes just in my face. And the last, I'd say two, maybe 3 weeks, I've been getting them really badly in my hands and in my feet, to the point where if I'm lying on the bed, I need to sort of find, sometimes, not all the time, thankfully, I need to find a cool spot on the sheet under me, because my feet will be so hot. So instead of keeping my feet up, I'd flatten them against the bed and sort of look for the cooler spots just to cool just to cool them down. And as I work throughout the day, I can sometimes feel the heat rushing through my hands. Um, so that's been fun. Not. And let me see. And I believe that the hot flashes are related to hyperthyroidism. So that's another reason why it's on my list, my self-diagnosis list. Things I'm not sure about. My vision has gotten a little bit worse. I'm not sure if that's because of not sleeping well and too much time in front of the computer. And the eczema has spread to the front of this ear. It's now around my nose, and it might be eczema that's kind of doing funny things in the corners of my mouth as well. I'm not sure. Okay, so that's finally, wow, felt like a long time talking about symptoms, and I think there are probably more that might have escaped me, or that I already TMI'd. I didn't really want to get into anything else, to be honest. But now, let's talk about my journey so far. And this, I'm going to talk about this quick. Maybe I'll do a video in the future about just more details on this. But long story short, I was in a situation where, thanks to brain fog, thanks to memory issues, I could no longer support myself as I was once able to. And I was in a situation where it felt like I was quickly approaching a state where I'd end up living on the street. So I finally made the decision to do something that had been on my mind for a while, which was to move abroad so I can live more cheaply. So that's what I've done. I'm currently not in my home country, so that I could survive and stay off the street. Now I want to talk about my experience with doctors in two countries, my home country and in the country I'm currently in, as well as a good number of online doctors. Hasn't been great because the issue I'm having with breast atrophy is so unusual. No one believes me. And I've literally had one particular doctor tell me that he straight up did not believe me. Like, he just said that to my face. And at the time, I was actually glad that he actually said it, because I could tell that when it came to the doctor who'd been my family doctor since I was, I believe, about 8 years old, so for quite a long time, as well as other doctors, other female doctors who I thought might be able to understand and have some empathy, I could tell that they did not believe me. And in fact, what my main doctor did this to me when I brought it up in one of our sessions, one of our visits, and I don't even know how to describe in words yet how being treated like this has made me feel. But suffice it to say, it has not felt good. So the tricky thing is that because I'm going through something with this rapid breast atrophy that is so unusual, I have not come across doctors who know anything about it like, at all. They keep trying to refer me to other doctors. they're not helpful. And in fact, one online doctor, and I can share more. I might share more about that in the future in another video. But one online doctor actually hit it ping right on the head from our very first conversation. But I didn't know enough, and I didn't understand the terms, and it was a long conversation, and I was all like, "Oh, not in a good state at all." Because of this situation, and this was before I knew about the tumor. All I knew was that something was happening to my chest, and I was afraid of cancer at that point, which thankfully is not the case. But no other doctor has gotten close, and I thankfully have been able to do my own research online and find the link between pituitary tumors and breast atrophy. So let's get into my hopes for the future. I am hopeful for a successful surgery with no complications. Complications can sometimes happen. I'm hoping that they won't, because I'm the one supporting me right now. and I need my eyesight, I need my health so that I can keep on. So, hoping for the best. Um, I really want to see all of these symptoms that I'm experiencing disappear within a reasonable amount of time. I know that's not going to be the next day. Surely within 6 months to a year. I'm really hoping that things just sort of normalize, my hormones, bring things back on track. That would be amazing. And I really want a chance at a full life. When you're incredibly depressed, and even when you feel a little down and you don't know why, that for me, for someone who needs answers, that can be maddening. That can be really frustrating, and it can be hard to just not know what's going on with you, but know that something's wrong, and you can't put your finger on it, and you'd never guess that you have a brain tumor. It's just it's tough. It's a tough journey. So my journey continues. As I mentioned, I haven't had the surgery yet. I will be meeting with a neurosurgeon later this week to talk about what surgery would look like for me. There are at least two methods that I know about. There might be three. One, they go through the nose to get to the tumor. And I think the other one, maybe it might be the back of the head. I could be wrong about that. So I have to find out what that looks like for me, given the size of the tumor. But one thing that I've learned about myself throughout this, as well as other journeys I've been through in the past, is that I am a fighter. And when I want an answer, I don't stop until I get it. And when I truly, truly believe that I deserve something, like the case of a home, a place to live where I can feel safe, I will do what I have to do to get it. So I've seen myself do it, and I firmly believe that I will do it again, that I can and will do it again in this case. So I will meet with the neurosurgeon. I will get a better understanding of the cost in this country and the options that I have, and other considerations that I'll need to take. Another part of my journey could potentially be getting surgery for the hydrosalpinx issue, but I might hold off on that only because there might be a way for me to change something else in my life that will resolve it, do it the natural way, because I'm really not down with knives. I don't I don't like knives, so I like to reduce or keep the number of surgeries down as much as possible. I am going to be doing some crowdfunding. I'm going to use GoFundMe, and I'm hoping for the kindness of strangers, because this surgery is sure to cost thousands of dollars, and it could also take about 6 weeks for everything to heal. I do work online a lot. I do a lot of meetings, and I need to be presentable. And if they do a surgery through my nose, I believe my nose won't look right for a little while. And even if they do it through the back of the head or in some other fashion, I have to give myself time to heal. I might be itchy somewhere in my head that I can't get to, and might need to apply medications. I might also experience some mood swings, and I'm not even sure. So different things could happen, so I need to give myself time to heal and give myself time for things in my body to normalize before I try to go back to work again. So my understanding is that could take up to 6 weeks after a surgery like this. So I am probably going to post more videos about my journey, and I'd like to thank you so much for watching, and I guess you will see me next time, so stay tuned. Bye.